Hello, my name's Greg, Soul Searching Gaijin, that's me. Today's video is going to be a detailed explanation of my last video, of my first performance on a live DAWless rig that I'm working towards doing my first solo live show on stage. Been on stage a bunch, but always in bands in a different situation. This would be my first solo gig. Pretty excited about it, to be completely honest. So this video is really not for everyone, but I think who it is going to be for is if you're kind of like me, a little older in life, never really pursued your art the way you wanted to, or just wanting to get into DAWless performing. I think you'll definitely find some value in it. I go into pretty great detail as to how I created the piece of music that's in the previous video, which I think came out really well. So maybe if you are interested in this, that'll help give you a little bit of context as to what's going on. It's not a tutorial by any means, but it is a breakdown of how I created what I created, and I hope you find some value in it. So as always, there's timestamps, you can jump ahead. I do like to talk, and this video is going to be a really long one. Like I said, it's really not for everybody. If you're here for music, I have a lot of really good music on the channel. Just check out some other things. But yeah, the support that I've gotten over the past few weeks is pretty amazing. So I just feel like I want to create more of these, and I didn't realize that I actually have something to say, that people want to listen, that people appreciate it, and the comments and everything you guys are giving me, it's awesome, man. Total inspiration to keep me going, and I just want to give back a little bit and try to inspire. I mean, you can all do this. Like, don't wait. I waited way too long in my life to get going, and with my art, I just never had the confidence, and really it hasn't been until I started to put myself out there that energy started to come back to me and gave me the confidence, and that's all coming from you guys. And I've said this in almost every video, but like, God, it's amazing, man. I really appreciate it. It's that the love and support you've given me has given me the strength to keep going, and I'm not gonna stop, man. I definitely am finding a flow in life. I'm finally doing what I really want to be doing, and I just hope I can inspire some of you along the way to like take that leap of faith and just share your talents with the world. There will be somebody who appreciates them, and the energy that comes back to you when you release what's inside, it's pretty amazing. It's exactly what you need, and you just have to have the courage to actually take the first step. So here we go. This is going to be a long one, but like I said, it's a pretty detailed explanation of how I did what I did, and I think if you're looking to do this type of music or this type of project, you'll find some value in it. Alright, thank you, and I hope you enjoy the video. See you guys. Okay, so today I'm going to go over everything that's involved in this last piece of music that I did, the last video that I did, just to kind of give you guys a little idea of how I created it, and hopefully give you some inspiration, maybe share some technical things. This isn't a tutorial by any means, just kind of an explanation of how I got to where I'm at. So this piece that I did, the last video, was built on this guy. A couple weeks ago I did a video where I took this up to Hokkaido and started to create some stuff that I was just going to flesh out when I got back, which is basically what last video was. So it started on this machine. I have four tracks here, and I'll play you the first one. Just some simple ambience, nothing major. And it just goes through a change or so, nothing big, that's about it. This is the next track that I have here, just a little melodic thing going on, nothing huge. And then over here, that's just like a complementing little melody that goes along with it. And then my favorite part up here is, you have to wait for it. It only comes in every so many measures. There it is. Very satisfying. I love that guy. Super grounding. Okay, so that's what I have going with that guy. And at the time when I did this, I added 4 tracks in the computer, which I essentially, they're over here. What I did was bounce them down, turn them into samples, and then transfer them on the SP, so I can just get away from the computer. Let me see if I come over here, and okay, so that's one. Just a real simple 8-measure choir, actually 16 measure I believe, but it's, you know, a nice sample. Everything's made to exact lengths, so this is, you know, at 123 BPM, so when I load it in here, everything syncs. I would like to be able to fade this in and out, but I'm really not so good on this guy yet, to be completely honest, so I'm just triggering it manually. And when I did this, I hadn't had the black box, which I think I'm going to, we'll get into that in a minute, but I may transfer those samples over into here. Next sample I had was just some chords, like an ambience, a nice little bed. Believe it or not, in the last performance, I never even used this sound. Never even got to it. And then that was done on the computer using a program called Stepic. And there was a lot of randomness that I programmed into it. So I had like maybe 8, 9 chords that I put in there, and then I just hit random. So every measure, it would give me a different chord. So I never really knew what was going to come out, but they were all in the same key, and I just liked how it just kind of, I like the randomness of things. It's kind of nice, you know. With electronic music, things can get a little stagnant. Then I also imported a little drum groove, which just gave me a metronome, something to play along with while I was up there. And then lastly, another piece that I never even used in this last performance. At least I don't think I did. I don't even remember hitting that button. But essentially, same thing. I programmed this in the computer using Stepic sequencer in Studio One, and there's a lot of randomness. Same technique that I used with this guy, I used with this guy. And you can kind of hear, but the thing was, in chopping it into a 16-measure sample, it kind of take out some of the randomness, because this would change throughout the entire piece if I was playing on the computer, but here it's just confined to 16 measures. Okay, so that's that. And then over here, well, let's just stay with this guy. So I have a bunch of one-shots.
Everything is an illusion. Nothing is real.
Okay, yeah, and why is this not? There we go.
Everything is an illusion. Nothing is real.
Still struggling with mastering how to use these performance effects over here, but yeah, I have all kinds of stuff over here.
Everything is
I have 2 banks loaded up of these type of things, just little vocal one-shots, which are really great. And then also over here in this bank, I have a bunch of little, just things that I can use to transition really easily. I can kind of hit them a little bit before, a few beats before I have to make a change over here, and just kind of gives me a nice transition into something else. What else did I use over here? I think, was it this guy? Yeah. Just had this one. And once again, it took me a little while to do this. I mean, they're easy to hit right now, but I spent quite a few days, probably a good week, scavenging for certain sounds, samples, listening to all these little motivational things to pull out certain phrases that I want. So there was a lot of time invested in getting this set up the way I want to. There's also in here, I have some drums, which I'm actually triggering with the Digitact, and let's kind of move on to that next. These two are integrally linked. I don't know if that's the right word, but essentially my outputs from my Digitact are going into the Roland, and the MIDI out from the Digi is going into the Roland as well. like I said, sequencing some extra drums here, which we'll see in a quick second if I don't blow this. Yeah, how do I get to mute mode? There we go. Okay, so are we playing? No. Here we are. So first of all, this is just a little hi-hat. And then a little, I don't even think I'm on the right pattern. No, I'm not. Okay, so this is the original pattern. There are two patterns to this, and I'll go over that in a quick second. So essentially, these four up here are triggering samples inside the Digitact. And then down here, these four are coming over here, which you can see. 12 is triggering sounds over here. 9 is my kick. 1 is my kick on the digitone. And then you can see I got some samples going in here. And this is with all 4 of them, or all 8 of them going. And I like it because that allows me to like do subtle build-ups, and then I can also, something that I was doing, hold on, let me get out of here. Then we go to track 1. I use the Control Alt function when you hold the pattern button down, and I'll really love that vibe. Just tunes all the drums, like all the tracks down, but you have to be careful because because when you do that, you can jump out of it again really quickly, but it goes back to your last saved, whatever you had saved in the temporary loading area beforehand. If you have any melodic things going on, you're going to detune everything. And if you have other pieces, which I have, playing melodic stuff, it's just going to totally sound like a mishmash. So you have to be very wary of when and how you use that. Very powerful tool on the Digitact though, I really dig it. And then over here on these guys, I have them set up so I can trigger things over here, on and off. I really wasn't using that so much. I was triggering them manually here. It's kind of overkill, but I don't know what I was thinking that I was going to program them on here to have this when I hit the sequence just start, but I don't know. I just kind of like triggering them manually at the moment, which it's all good. So that's these 2 units essentially. And over here, what I'm really using this guy for is, hold up, let me get over to here. I'm using this as a performance piece, basically, so I can, oh, I don't even have, why is that not, oh, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so I can, now this is one thing, maybe, if anybody out there knows how to, when I hit my delay, I always have to go and set it to dotted blah, blah, blah. So I want to, okay, so if any of you know how to get this so the first time I hit it, it doesn't show up as dotted 16th. It's such a pain in the ass, man. So I have to kind of set this up before I start my set, which is difficult because, say for instance, I want to use this one, the resonator. I have to, same thing with that, man. When I turn this off and turn it back on, it defaults to a different note, and it's kind of frustrating, honestly, but nonetheless, this is pretty amazing. Some of the things you can do with it, little stutter effects, all kinds of stuff, isolator, blah, 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 just pretty amazing. And you can do, there's so many effects in here that you can assign to these. You're not tied to this pattern. I don't want to get into this too much. It's just, that's pretty much how I use it. I use these more than anything. And really the delay and resonator are what I rely on a lot. The filters, I tend to do that over here on the, let me see if you can see, yeah, on this guy. You can put in some, assign any of the tracks you want to the master filter, and then just engage and disengage, sweep, all kinds of things. And essentially, it's allowing me to do the same thing, but with a little more control and over specific tracks over here, which I think is pretty great. Okay, so we went over this guy, this guy, this guy. The next edition, well, actually, let me stay over on this one for a minute. I have my reverb on channel 2, and I have the Zen delay on channel 1 for my aux sends, effect sends. And what I really, really like about it is the Zen delay is almost like an instrument unto itself. Yeah, how about we do this? Okay, so this coming up over here, this is with a little bit of reverb, not much, but we bring this up. And then it just, beauty comes out. Yeah, it's got a filter on it, and then I can also slow down. I have just really nice what you can do with this. And if you push the feedback up, this thing will just go for days. It's pretty amazing. Like, I could probably just turn this down and then like 5 minutes later come back and that's still going to be going. And it doesn't really feed back. Though I lied, it does. You just have to be a little careful, but not as much as some of the other delays I've used before in the past. Really nice. And this has become like a whole new instrument in here. I can run anything through it, and it's just very, very useful, I found, for transitions. Pretty amazing. Okay, so now let's move on to the black box over here. Super new for me. I've only had it about a week, and what do I have going on? Am I'm on the right pattern? Yes. So I programmed this little nano controller to give me some control over this guy, because I've already got lost on the last performance, just being on the wrong pad and not thinking I was tweaking the filter cutoff and nothing's happening. I was like, oh fuck, I'm on the wrong pad. Totally got me distracted and made my major mistake in that performance due to that. So over here I have, what do we have going on? How come I'm not hearing? Oh, here we are. This is one pattern that I have over there. And then over here, nothing. I think it should have something on that one. Well, anyway, over here. So I did have 3 hooked up. I don't know what happened with this guy. Maybe I turned her off. Not sure. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I got what I needed out of it, and soon I'm going to kind of flip this up a little bit too. I found this to be very difficult. And I'll go into that in my next video. But essentially, so yeah, I have a few things that I can kind of fade in here, kind of mess with a bit there, and then it's also nice. Once again, I'm going to put some delay on it. Okay, so I just synced this up to the MIDI clock now, which allows me to. Everything's going to run in sync now. You can see the difference. Really, 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 really nice. I love what that does. Absolutely love what that does. And it just adds so much like color to the palette. It's just beautiful. And maybe over here one more time, we'll do this. Let me crank up the reverb. Are you hearing any of that? No, we don't hear. That's a bad one to do it on. Okay, so how about we just do it over here? So there you go. You can hear it a little bit. Essentially, shimmer effects. Yeah, essentially shimmer effect. Gotta be wary of it, but it's a nice little addition. It can kind of just give you a whole nother harmonic on top of what you're doing. Bring it in and bring it out. Okay, so that's basically it. And then over here, I did create a few different patterns. Let's go to pattern 1 over here. And I flipped through these in the middle of the performance by utilizing the Zen delay and having a high feedback and just having my previous thing running through here and just kind of creating a wash, so I could mute all these and then jump over to a new pattern, which all of a sudden things are there. Okay, that was super weird, but essentially I have the same thing. Okay, yeah, that's coming from this guy. That's one sound. Here's another sound that I have in here. Okay, and then a third one. And then a fourth. What's on here? Probably, okay. All together. And all this is really doing is just creating this kind of atmosphere that I can build other things around. These are in the same key or relatively close to the same key, very, very close to the previous pattern, so I can jump between them, don't have to worry about like drastic changes. Also, I've been doing everything for the past few weeks in 123 BPM just to keep things consistent, so I can easily transition from one pattern to the next as seamlessly as possible. Also in here, which I didn't tell you in the last pattern, those tracks that were playing back on the black box were actually sequenced on the 4 MIDI channels of this guy over here. Let me see. So I have, yeah, you just assign a MIDI channel and then do your programming, use this sequencer to actually trigger this guy's sounds, which is what I was doing. So if I come over here, I have, this is one sample that I have. Where's it at? I think it's this guy right here. Yeah, that's it. That's one. This is another one. This is over here. I have that also mapped so I can play with the filters of it a little bit. Same with this. Really nice. Over here, real simple. Do I have this? Yeah, I have that going. Just not on this one. So I mapped the filters to these little knobs and it's just volumes over here. So all together. And what this allows me to do is, all of these are turned off at the moment, the internal sounds on here, and it's just, the sequence is playing, triggering these guys in the black box. So it just allows me to have this going, have some stuff going on, do some changes over here, maybe set up, mute everything on the digitact and go to a different pattern. Allows me to transition a little bit by having multiple instruments kind of handling drums a bit. So I have drums coming from here, here, and here, giving me a lot of options. So if I go over to this pattern, which I also used in the last performance. Whoa! Okay, so that's pretty much straightforward. It's the same beat with a tiny little tweak, and I just changed the tuning of the drums a bit, and then the exact same drum sounds and pattern as the previous one, just for consistency's sake over here. And then, did I add anything else over here? Okay, there we go. So yeah, a few more things I have. This is missing my piano part. Little bass part, and this doesn't fit in perfect, and I kind of actually got tripped up on it in the performance, but that's an idea. This one I like a lot. This one goes really well. And all that really does is just kind of give me more flavor, just so I can manually bring things in and out when I want to. They're not programmed. Well, they are programmed, but it just helps me to jump around, giving me a bigger palette of things to choose from. And then I would say lastly, over here, let me see if I can do this without bumping the camera, kind of show you guys a bit. What I'm playing on the keys, I have 3 sounds set up on this guy. The first one, flute, which I'm going through, because it's over here. Okay, just gives me, I love it. It's really nice. And that way I can play over top. And in the middle of the performance, I can go from fade in a whole nother sound, blend the two, or just go straight to strings. Just giving me another flavor, and then with another flip of a knob, I just have some weird little ambient people walking noises. I think there's a burp. Yeah, that's kind of funny. There's all kinds of shit in there, but that allows me to just kind of create some ambience and some sections. I rely on this sound a lot. It's just such a contrast to the sounds on the Digitone. I really, really kind of dig it. And that's all I did. I just had one patch set up. You can load 3 sounds at a time. This has effects in it, blah, 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 blah. But I'm really relying heavily on the mixer for effects. And this mixer, all I can say about it is it's pretty awesome. I realized I didn't even have my master EQ on when I recorded, now that I'm looking at things. There's so many people that do great tutorials. If you really are interested, it's not cheap. I highly recommend it. You really don't need this. You really don't need this. It's a super luxury, but I love it. It sounds really amazing, and not really going to go into it too much more than that. So essentially that's it. Now I think I'm going to come up here, see if I can't, well, turn around so I can see myself. Okay, there you go. I guess I don't need this anymore. So essentially, how this all came about, yeah, I just start on one small piece and I create an idea and just get some inspiration from that, and then I incorporate it into the rest of the studio and just start to build on it. And when I started that track, like I said, I only had my computer and I was not at home, so I relied on the computer pretty heavily. But from now on, I think when I'm going to do stuff in here, I'm going to try to create everything on this equipment itself, so I don't really have to just go through the hassle of mixing things down, blah, 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 and then transporting them in. Though I will say, there is going to be some of that, because there's a lot of stuff that is not in here yet. And there's just some, I really like the fact that I can do a bunch of sound design on my gear over here, the main studio, and then import it. So that's pretty much what's going on. What I learned in this whole performance thing was muscle memory is key. I've been practicing the first half probably for about 3 or 4 days, maybe about, I don't know, anywhere from like 5 to 6, 7 times a day. I'll just come in and just hit play and then just kind of go and do a run through for about 10 minutes or so, and then just try to make it a performance without recording it. And I've been doing that daily for 3 to 4 days. And then the night before, 2 nights ago, I did that performance video, actually at this point 2 days ago. The night before I did that performance, I just fleshed out a whole nother, created those whole second patterns with all those weird sounds, and really almost on the fly the next day just started to incorporate them. And I got very, very lucky that things worked out, and because I really had not practiced that much at all. I have to look at the camera. It's so impersonal when I stare everywhere else. So yeah, now I get distracted. I get distracted easy, as you can tell. So I hope that it kind of helps explain my process a bit. I will say, yes, there's a lot of gear. I've said that before, and yes, it's going to take me some time to get the muscle memory. Though I did feel quite comfortable after a couple days doing the whole first part of this performance. I know these machines pretty well, and the way I have it set up, it makes it very easy for me. I just have to remember what's where and work logically as far as making all my patterns be identical on the same box. Like if I'm on pattern 1 on the digitone, pattern 1 on the digitact. Yeah, and for the SP, most of the samples in there just live in one big, like I don't have to load something else. They're just there. There's so many banks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 10 banks of, what is it? 32? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whatever. I can't even count at the moment. 16. 10 banks of 16 pads. And due to the fact that I'm not changing them, over time I'm learning the location of anything that pretty much what I use all the time. I know exactly where it's at. I know what bank it's in. I know how to get to it. And that's all muscle memory. And really with this whole DAWless thing, what I'm learning is you need to practice. You definitely need to practice. And also jumping between patterns, you really need to make sure that all your volumes jive with one another. So it's a good idea to kind of mix your whole set in one go before you try to perform it. Do not try to be adjusting levels or EQs on the fly. It just doesn't really work. I spent a good few days actually just trying to make sure everything's volume sat nicely, so I didn't have to worry about that. I could just trigger them in and out, and more worry about the arrangement and how I'm going to manipulate things with effects as I go. The one thing that's new to me is playing keys while I'm doing this. Well, one of many things that's new to me, but I love it, man. It's been really cool. That's completely improvised. I have no idea what's going to come out as I'm playing. I'm not the best keyboard player, but things aren't so... If you keep it simple, things aren't so difficult, and sometimes small patterns go a long way. And I just use my ear. If I hit a wrong note, I just treat it as a suspension, and then at the next beat, or when it feels appropriate, I just go up to the proper note. So don't be afraid to start banging out some stuff on the keys, because it's, you know, a lot of fun, and it adds a really nice element to it. So talked enough today. The next video that I'm going to do, I'll talk about that in the intro. Let's just end it there. That's enough for the day. I'm kind of tired. All right, y'all, have a great day. Bye.